September 14th, 2021, and this is the Cloud Custodian community meeting. The code of conduct is in effect, and just a reminder that we do record these and put the archive on YouTube. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. I know we're conflicting with a lot of Apple announcements, and event participation has been very light today across the board, so thank you for taking the time. I've got the agenda here, and as always, you can find our meeting notes in HackMD, and I'll make sure I toss that URL in chat. And it is also on the meeting invite, and I put the permanent URL and all that good stuff in the notes, and then I always post a follow-up to the mailing list. So with that, let's get started here. Introductions and announcements. Does anybody want to introduce themselves? Looks like everyone here's been here before, so unless anyone has any burning introductions that they want to do, we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. Our regular agenda items. So regular weekly doc sprint sessions. This is something Liz and I have been doing on Fridays. We've started keeping an actual agenda now of the things that we're working on. And I'll get to the calendar page and stuff like that when we get to that. But we've been working basically about an hour a week, just finding something in the docs that needs to be fixed and working on it. Liz, you had review and edit documentation for server-side filtering. Any updates there? I'm pretty sure we're halfway or in the middle of doing this, but nothing to show yet.
Yeah, no, there's nothing to show yet for this. Because I need to do a little bit of research first to make sure I completely understand what's going on with server-side filters before I start taking apart the documentation. So that is step one. And what I'm thinking I'd like to do is when I've got a handle on it, then put it on the agenda for one of our doc sprints. So if you are interested and contributing to the documentation for server-side filters, because perhaps you have run into something there where you're like, I could fix that. Keep an eye on the doc sprint agenda for that to come up, but it won't be the next one.
And then I've got the tracking issue there for everyone if you want to follow in on that. Okay, and then the big news for this week, probably the highlight of the week, is the Governance is Code Day with Cloud Custodian is now live for the day before KubeCon plus Cloud Native Con. I've got the link here, and we've got some speakers here, including Emily Freeman from AWS. That's going to be great. And some other pending speakers, just waiting for them to get their final approvals and things like that. So definitely check that out. Just a reminder, we would really appreciate it if you would register so we keep track of how many people are attending and all that good stuff. But also just a reminder that the event is 100% free and you do not need a KubeCon ticket. And we are going all virtual now, right, Umair? Or will there be a presence physically?
No, I think we're going virtual because it was just too much back and forth. And if a few of us go, we can always do a reception in Los Angeles. But I don't know how everyone will be comfortable about. But most of the attendees we talked with, speakers, they were not traveling to KubeCon. So we decided to make it virtual and just keep it simple and not make it too complicated. Yeah, some of the speakers are posted. We're still waiting for approvals from the rest of the approved speakers. So as soon as they're up, we'll publish their name and schedule as well this week.
Yep, and I'll probably send a separate mail for the schedule itself just to make sure that people see that. So thank you so much to those of you that submitted talks. Really appreciate the level of high quality submissions that we got, and we think it's going to be a really great day. Umair, Kapil, any final comments on this?
No, I'm good. We'll have updated.
Super excited about it. This will be our first Cloud Custodian conference day, so to speak. So super excited.
Yeah. Looking forward to the swag is what I'm looking forward to the most, right? All right. And with that,
you know the person who helps pick the swag, George?
Is it me?
I believe it is.
Yes. Excellent. Awesome. All right, and with that, those are really the only two major announcements that we have for this week. I have two PRs that I'd like to bring to our slash issues that I'd like to bring to the attention, and then the notes here. I'm going to keep the section for the links to the Cloud or Governance's Code Day, and then our upcoming Cloud Custodian days, which will be resuming in November. And those are the workshops and whatnot. So I have two today for the group. The first one, Liz and I discovered. And we're not sure if
we sure did.
Yeah, we sure did. So we've been making fixes to the RST files in the repo, and those are all getting up to date. However, the published HTML files on the website do not match what is in the RST. So if we follow that, so I don't know if it was just this one time where we did it, or if I don't want to say, hey, is this totally broken, because I'm not sure. So I was just bringing it to attention.
It's not that it's totally broken, but you're correct. There is a problem there. So currently, and we should get rid of drone. Drone is actually the thing that builds the docs from GitHub pages, like does the Sphinx run, it publishes the GitHub pages, and our drone server is currently using a Let's Encrypt DNS thing, and that basically barfs every 90 days. And I'm looking at it now, ci.cloudcustodian.io, and it's currently barfed, which means it needs to hop on a server to go fix, which oddly enough, I don't have credentials for at the moment, but I can try to get that resolved in the next 24 hours. We should potentially look at just moving this, get rid of drone, and move it to GitHub Actions to do that. It will need extra credentials to write back to the repo. But besides that, I think it is something that has served its purpose and is probably more a concern now than it is a help.
Sure. Should I just write a quick summary in here?
Yeah, there might be a GitHub issue already out there for get rid of drone.
Yeah, I was going to ask if there is a thing filed for that, and we could link to on here.
Yeah, 6786. Switch off drone to GitHub Actions for doc builds. But in the meantime, we should keep it going. But to unblock this immediate issue with regards to getting the docs updated.
Yeah.
But that is one that needs some attention.
All right, so I've cross-linked that in the issue then, and all right, I'm glad we weren't going crazy there, Liz. I was like, right? Oh, did I push to the wrong branch again? Yeah, I was going through all of that stuff. So, okay, moving on to the second one is new events page with the calendar. Todd, I believe you're the one that filed an issue that would like to see the calendar and whatnot be more easy to find. So what I've done is I've PR'd a calendar widget. It'll be just Cloud Custodian /events. And then on that page, I embedded just a kind of traditional Google Calendar. I've went ahead and created a Google Calendar, copied this meeting, the docs meeting, and all that kind of stuff. And it'll be nice and available there on the website. And if you want to subscribe to it, you'll just be able to click a button. Additionally, there's a bunch of fancier calendar widgets, and I want to put a schedule for Cloud Custodian Day and do all of that kind of stuff. But this initial PR is mostly just adding the calendar events. I do need to come after this merges. I do want to come back and make the URL is going to be weird. It's like events.html, and I'm trying to figure out how to make that. You know, you don't need the dot. I totally forgot how to do websites without a Jamstack, so I'm learning a lot of HTML again. Does anybody have any comments on this from a general perspective? I also have another PR in flight that will change the READMEs to all just point to this one page so that we're not. I didn't want you to have to follow a chain from repo to repo to end up here. So I'm also working on that. Any comments or anything here? Marco helped me out with a lot of the HTML. And then the one thing that I learned that I would like to share with the group is It's just in a GH Pages branch. So if you switch to that, that's where the website is. It's not a separate repo or something like that.
It is just a GH Praises branch, but it's worth calling out why it didn't work the way you thought it might work, because it's not a GitHub Pages site. Let's say.
Yeah.
There's a random lambda function which copies this to S3 and CloudFront, which is actually what serves things up. But yeah.
Got you. And I know I'm also cognizant of the fact that at some point we'll get a fancier CNCF powered site and all that stuff. So as I was doing investigating on like the fancier calendar widgets, I didn't want to add any extra dependencies or any of that stuff. So that's why it's kind of basically the default iframed Google Calendar, which will be serviceable for now. Any other feedback on this? I should have prepared a live preview of it maybe next time, but it'll just be up here and just say events right next to this. I mean, you'll be able to navigate back. It's pretty straightforward.
I'll just say thanks. Looks good. So far, what I've seen. I appreciate it.
I love issues like this. When you run into stuff and you're like, hey, wait a minute, I should be able to see the events for a given project. Absolutely feel free to tag me in GitHub issues, but thanks for filing that. That was a good bit of fun this week. Sorry it took so long to land. I was in CSS and it wasn't a good time. I had to call for help. All right. Any other comments on this? All right. And with that, that's our issue and PR things that I've added here. Do we have any other agenda items? Most everything on the backlog is noted and no progress to report this week. Anybody? Okay, awesome. So outstanding item, we'll make sure we get that schedule out for the Governance as Cloud Day. And wow, you get like 45 minutes back. Any final comments, concerns?
Governance is code.
Governance is
you
code?
Said governance
No,
is
did
cloud.
I say governance is cloud? I'm going to, oh man. All right.
For committers, I've got one thing that I'm trying to play around with, which is make CI faster. I'm obsessed with this because if you don't be obsessed with it, it gets ugly real fast. And I think switching out to Poetry, currently our Tox builds do not seem to take advantage of the caching and GitHub actions. So switching out to Poetry we should be able to get to under 5 minutes for a full matrix run. And it'll also help us unify Windows with the rest of OS X and Linux runs. So still hopeful on that, but still working through it. And then I'm hopeful to get through a few more PRs on the backlog for reviews. John's not here, but he also did the actual merge on something, which is great. So if there's an improved PR out there, don't be afraid to do the merge on the maintainers out here. All right, that was it for me.
You said you want to get it under 5 minutes. What's it currently at? Just so I have that for the notes. Just as a.
I mean, total end to end is probably about 10 minutes. That 10 minutes is so we run about 20. I want to say 18, maybe 13 on the CI matrix build. We currently do about a 3x5 matrix for Python versions, OS X, Linux, and then we do a separate one for Windows. One that ends up taking a significant amount of time is actually the Doc Sphinx build that we do. So currently we do Docker build and Sphinx builds per PR, and then unit test runs, and then some additional things around some of the Golang tools we have, and then the static analysis security bits around SemGrep and Bandit. The static analysis tools are actually pretty fast. All of the other ones, minus the Golang ones, are dealing with some form of software installation around our dependency set, and currently they aren't able to take advantage of cache around the fact that we've already installed these. The dependencies haven't changed, and that takes about 2 minutes, 30 seconds. So looking for a net decreased time on installs of about 2 minutes, 30 seconds. With regards to Sphinx itself, TBD. I think there's Sphinx and Docker, I think, are the other two outliers in terms of getting it back down to like a 4-minute to 3 to 4 minute CI time. We'd have to look at doing those either async. We originally had those as nightly. We moved them to per PR just because there were issues with regards to PRs that would break image publishing. What I would potentially look to do for the Docker ones, at least, would be to not do that CI job or short circuit that CI job if there hasn't been a change to the actual Docker image, because the rest of the build machinery, as far as the actual build for the Docker, is roughly just going off of what's in CI. So there's no per se differential value for having that there. There is a light functional test as a result of the Docker image build against AWS, and I don't think it's maybe one against GCP as well. So that light functional testing is potentially something we should probably we potentially want to move out. But effectively, the notion for the things that, besides the matrix build, we're going to unify the matrix build. We're going to decrease the time for the matrix build. For the things that are outlined beyond that, we'd look at trying to make them more differential as far as only running for when they need to run. The doc build will see a decrease in time. It'll probably go to 7 minutes, but the rest of CI should just be green at that point. In which case, unless you misplaced a colon or quote in Sphinx in your doc string, things are okay. As for improving Sphinx times, that is probably a dedicated look at Sphinx itself. I think we're trailing on version right now. We can look at whether or not an update to latest and greatest helps that at all. Generally, it has not. We ourselves have uncovered significant speed regressions in Sphinx, which when we reported upstream, they've been very responsive on fixing. But I do. It's just a thing. Currently, we're not too coupled to Sphinx. We have some restructured text. Most of the reference docs that are things that we generate outside of Sphinx, so we could switch to generators or something else. But that's a longer topic for potentially a different discussion. The only other topic that I had pending for the community meeting was the CNCF Easy CLA is one of those Orwellian naming conventions where the easy part of the CLA is not easy. We've had a couple of issues with different new contributors on this. And in particular, I find the entire user interface of it to be not well suited to our purpose. We could seriously consider either switching out to the SAP CLA tool, CLA bot, and or switching out to DCO. We've had challenges with DCO in the past with regards to a lot of our contributor population not necessarily being familiar with Git and DCO in particular, and doing the sign-offs on it. So SAP bot would potentially be a thing. I'm going to try to separately schedule some time with the CNCF Easy CLA, Linux Foundation Easy CLA people to try to understand with them what if you do SAP CLA bot, you gotta add CLA, otherwise.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. There you go. That's the one.
This is the one. All right, I'll just link it up.
And I'm gonna at least try to give the Linux Foundation people a chance to see if they can cover off on the basics, usability and whatnot that we're looking for in this community. I'm starting to feel like the Easy CLA bot is not easy and is actually hurting our ability to have new contributors have an easy onboarding path. Gotcha.
I'm assuming then that there's no requirement for Cloud Custodian to have to use the CNCF's CLA bot, right? Like as part of the.
It is not. When we
choice.
switched over to CNCF, we wanted to continue with a CLA thing just because of our contributor population. That's what looked like it made the most sense.
Sure.
But the downside is the actual CLA, the CLA bot from CNCF is Linux Foundation's Easy CLA, and that tool is it's targeted for different use cases, let's say.
Okay, got it. Anybody else have comments on CLA bots? I'm glad no one has opinions on CLAs. All right, and with that, that comes to the end of the agenda. Wrapping it up, going once, going twice. All right, thank you everyone for coming, and watch the list for the notes and the video on YouTube. Thanks everyone. Have your 35 minutes back.
Thanks, everyone.
Happy Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever day it is.
Thanks all.
Cheers.